For the first time last year, I was able to experience and go to Universal Studios Orlando, Florida. And I don't know, it was something about it. Just it felt different from Disney World. And I'm a big Disney mark, but I've always wanted to go to Universal Studios. And to be able to do such a thing and go to Universal Studios Florida and being able to walk into the world of Harry Potter and adventure in the world of Jurassic Park, it really made me a fan of the park. And while I do think it does lack a couple of things, that doesn't take away my experience that I had. My amazing experience that I honestly cannot wait to experience again. But with that said, I could not resist making a top 10 list for Universal Studios Florida because much like Disney World, Universal has some really incredible rides, shows, and attractions. From the themes of the rides to the themes of the lands in the park, Universal really impressed me with how the park looks entirely. It's honestly beautiful, you know. But with that said, as well, I wanted to make this list, and it took me a while to make this list because I wanted to let the Disney World one simmer, and I also wanted to rethink about my experience in Universal Studios Florida and what I really truly loved about it in this first time experience. So, without further ado, let's get on to this list. Let's count down and rank my top 10 favorite rides, shows, and attractions at Universal Studios Florida. We start off this list and journey to E.T.'s Adventure, or E.T. Adventure, whatever you want to call it. This ride is the only ride in the park that has been running since the park first opened in 1990. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the greatest attraction or ride in this park, but because I'm a fan favorite of Steven Spielberg, and because it actually did have some good pre-show animatronics, and I like the story, I'm choosing it for this list. The ride was actually put together by both Universal Creative and Steven Spielberg, as he wanted to put his charm into the ride while it also had parts of the film in the ride. And the sequel novel, which I did not know about, E.T. the Book of the Green Planet, I did not know this was a thing. Google if you don't believe me. This ride is very cute ride that families will love and enjoy. It kind of feels like a Peter Pan's Flight type of ride system where the ride vehicle is in the air, making it seem like you are flying because you're with ET. I actually really enjoyed the ride. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, the queue was very decorative and had a nice little animatronic of ET's friend called Botanicus. Botanicus. I think that's what it said. If I'm wrong, attack me, Universal fans. I'm sorry. Uh, it's a pretty chill ride. I ain't gonna lie. It's nothing crazy, but I think the finale's cool. You know, we get to go in ET's land, in a sense. But it does look a little bit dated, and it's a kid ride. Let's be for real. But I still think it deserves to be on this list for longevity. And I'm a sucker for Spielberg. Like I love. He's my favorite director. Um, but it's been said also if this ride does close, Spielberg will end his contract with Universal. So don't know how true that is, but I'm not trying to find out. But in the end of the day, this ride is adorable and it's fun for all the whole family. After the closure of Confrontation, it was only a matter of time when King Kong would once again make his presence known in Universal Studios Florida. And in 2016, Skull Island Reign of Kong opened up in Islands of Adventure and has become a must see attraction since its opening. The ride itself is a 4D themed dark ride with a trackless vehicle, so you might get a little motion sickness if you are into motion sickness issues. If you're into motion sickness issues, I'm screaming. The ride also incorporates both screens and audio animatronics, as the ride holds one of the biggest animatronics in the park, King Kong. The ride itself is pretty cool. I did like it. While you could tell that there aren't there because of the screens, you kind of feel like you're in Skull Island being attacked by the dinosaurs and the creatures of the island, as well as feeling Kong jump on the ride that you're on like the ride car you're on. Like you could tell you're not really there because of screens, but like the feeling and the experience you're having there, it feels real. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I love the queue for this ride. It really feels like you're in Skull Island, and the animatronics in the queue look lifelike. As for Kong, the Kong animatronic looks lifelike. Like not nothing crazy lifelike, but it still looks amazing. It's huge. It's big. Not as big as Confrontation's Kong, but still big. The ride has been given many positive reviews and has found a huge fan base over the years. I liked it. I love King Kong. It's a big reason why I love this attraction. I feel like this ride could use a bit more effects and scenes, but other than that, still a good ride. The Simpson ride is a part of the themed area specifically for The Simpsons. The ride itself is a blast, as while it isn't your average thrill ride or slow dark ride. It's one of those motion screen rides that make you feel like you're actually in the Simpsons cartoon and possibly make you throw up or feel dizzy in the end. I'm just saying from experience. Usually with this motion simulator rides, you usually get 3D glasses to make you feel like you're in the ride, but with this ride, you don't need any sort of glasses, which I think is actually pretty cool because it makes you imagine you're in the ride feel much cooler. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, there we go. I don't know what I'm saying here now. Now, with all that said, the ride then feels like a thrill ride when you're on it, as it's bumpy and it seems like you're put on this one of the most wildest roller coasters on the wilderness. Oh Jesus Christ, I'm back in my Disney days with the Big Thunder Mountain, but I'm here talking about the Simpson ride. We're not trying to talk about Disney here now. Anyway, the original voice actors from the show returned to voice all the characters in the ride, the queue, the pre-show, and I love the queue in this ride, as many of the side characters in the show make an appearance, and the way it's done is like a carnival, and it's so amazing how Universal put it all together. Added bonus is the additional clips from the shows that are being used in the queue. Gotta love that. I wanted to ride this ride multiple times, but like I said, if you're not good with motion simulator rides and you have motion sickness, this might not be for you, but I think it will be worth all the puking and feeling lightheaded for one time try. In the end, I really love this ride. It was such an amazing experience, and it's been a ride I actually really wanted to do. But yeah, I don't really have much to say after that. I go check this ride out. Check the Simpsons part of the park out too. It's very detailed. It's so beautiful. Being able to experience Harry Potter world, and there's two parts of it by the way, but we'll get to the second part. But to walk into Diagon Alley and to look up at the fire breathing dragon, just know you're experiencing something incredible. But the building right next to the fire breathing dragon, you are going to experience one of the most coolest rides in Universal Studios Florida, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. The ride itself is set during the events of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, as Harry, Ron, and Hermione are trying to infiltrate the Gringotts Bank in order to obtain the Horcrux so they could defeat Lord Voldemort. I had to make sure he's not around me while I said that. Oh, he must not be named. Ooh. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, if you didn't know. I love the books. I love the movies. And to be able to experience this itself was amazing. The ride itself is insane, as it's both a 3D simulator ride, but it's also an indoor steel roller coaster. And as soon as the ride car went up in a certain degree, I was staring down onto the tracks, and I knew then and there this ride was going to be something else. It's not the craziest roller coaster in the park, but it gets so much love from me and many fans of both the parks and Harry Potter. And it has so much hidden details, from some lifelike animatronics in the queue to its beloved characters from the Harry Potter films being in said pre-show and the ride itself. It's just, I loved every second of it. As while the wait times could become long, as it's one of the most popular rides in Universal, it's well worth the wait, as you get so much done in a 5-minute ride, and it's crazy to think that this ride is almost 10 years old, and yet it still manages to feel fresh and new. It's new to me because I never experienced it, but it's such a very smooth, ride, and it looks like something out of this world, more like something you haven't seen ever, something that's never been done ever, maybe something out of this world because it's Harry Potter world. These are the jokes, kids. But if you love Harry Potter books and the films, then you should 100% ride this ride on your next trip to Universal Florida. I highly recommend it. But this also isn't the only Harry Potter ride on this list. We'll get to one a little bit later on. I remember watching ride through videos on YouTube for this ride and just praying to God I get to ride it. Finally, it happened after 10 long years. And let me tell you, I loved every minute of it. Not a fan of water rides, though. Not a fan of getting wet. LOL. But I loved every minute of this. I wasn't fully tightened onto the ride because we had a little bit bigger people next to us. So I almost fell and died. I was almost, like the dinosaurs. I was almost dead. But anyway, as for the ride itself, it's very... It makes you feel like you're in the actual movie. And I love that about that. That's like the experience that I wanted. But it is a bit dated. Like, it needs some work. Like, some of the animatronics in this ride, they look kind of, not that great. But, I mean, the ride's been around since the 90s. So, I mean, let's be honest. It doesn't destroy the experience of the ride itself. And the finale, whew, it was a splash, literally. As the huge T-Rex animatronic looks incredible. And it stares you down as it roars. And it tries to attack you. And, of course, while you escape, you go down an 85-foot drop going 50 miles per hour down the drop, and you're going to get wet. I'm going to say this again. You're going to get wet. Both times. I almost died going down it. But as I said before, I loved every... Why did I go country on this? I'm keeping that in. As I said before, I loved every minute of this ride, and while I hate going on water rides and getting wet, this one manages to make me not care if I get wet or not, which luckily I didn't. So thank God. It's been a long time coming, but I'm finally glad I was able to ride this ride. Kind of want to ride the Jurassic World version at Hollywood Studios. At Universal Studios Hollywood. I got Disney on the mind. All right, let's get to the next one before I become prehistoric.
I'm dying! Why are you applauding that?
There were not a lot of shows that drew my interest in Universal Orlando. And one did. The horror makeup show. Not many people know about this, which is kind of crazy because horror is like a big thing for Universal with, Halloween Horror Nights and just all the horror movies that come out from Universal. I'm a hardcore fan of horror, if you didn't know that already. But I'm also really into horror makeup. I have this crazy fascination for movie special effects and makeups for movies, including horror. And while I have been watching shows, documentaries behind the scenes towards horror makeup effects, like Face Off and on Sci-Fi was a big part of that. I truly become fascinated of horror makeup, and Universal's horror makeup show is honestly that one show that drew my interest. It's the only show that I watched during my time at Universal. So sorry if you were expecting, the dog show or something. But anyway. The Universal Horror Makeup Show is an original attraction from the opening day of Universal Florida and has been making guests fully entertained for over 30 plus years. The show is a live demonstration of Universal Pictures' legacy of horror movies and their use of prosthetic makeup and special effects. It has undergone a few changes over the years, from displays and props being used to the changes in the lobby, which is a mini museum of horror, and I fucking loved it. The two hosts, Alex Ross and Marty James, because it could be a man or woman, depends who you get. They're funny. I fucking love them. While the show is all about horror, it is very funny. Both hosts play off each other very well, and they also play off the audience well. This show is anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes long, and I could be honest with you, I could rewatch this show 100 times in a day and not get bored. I loved every minute of this show. It was funny. It was scary. Quotation mark. It wasn't that scary. There was no scares. Unless you're, get jump scared in the end. But if you're a true fan of horror and love makeup effects like myself, then this is a must do when you go on your next trip to Universal. I highly recommend it. It's such a fantastic show. So out of all the rides that I did go on in Universal, this one was the biggest surprise for me. I say that knowing how popular the ride is, but I also didn't know, considering I thought it was just your average roller coaster ride, but I was far off with that assumption, as this ride is way more than your average roller coaster ride. Revenge of the Mummy is centered on the film The Mummy, but behind the scenes of the film, as you are visiting the set, and then a curse is put on the set of the film, and many parts of the set begin to come to life and wreak havoc on the set. So the queue, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the queue. There's some crazy stuff happening in the ride itself. It's actually a fucking smart idea. Like something small like that could work in a movie, but I feel like on a ride itself, it feels different. And with max speeds of 40 miles per hour being launched, the coaster ride includes multiple different angle turns, multiple animatronics, special effects, and of course, for my pyro lovers, fire! There's fire everywhere! You're burning alive! You're gonna feel roasted out there coming out this ride. I know I did. Uh, you will have to see how amazing this ride is and all the effects and whatnot are in person because the video cannot do it justice. I thought going into this ride that it was gonna be like Dinosaur or Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland, but I was completely wrong. As is an extreme version of that times 1,000. I highly recommend this ride. There's not much I want to say about it because I don't want to give away too much. The video might give away too much, but I feel like you need to do it in person. But I would have done this ride 3 or 4 times at least. Because I only got to do it once, which kind of sucks. But in the end of the day, this was such an amazing ride. I loved every minute of it. Considered by many as the best ride in Universal's history, The Many Adventures of Spider-Man is an S-tier ride, as it does everything from amazing effects, sharp turns, an amazing queue, and of course, the Universal favorite, fire! Y'all thought I was done with the fire now? Come on. The ride itself is a 3D motion simulator dark ride. It opened back in May 1999 and has been a must-do attraction when visiting Universal or Orlando. I loved every minute of this ride. Like I said before, the queue is amazing. It makes you feel like you're in a bugle. Makes you feel like you're in an actual cartoon, which, as an old head like myself from the millennial times when the show was big, this was a big deal for me. I loved every minute of it. I can't get enough of this ride. Like, I also never watched a ride point of view, any ride videos of this ride, because I wanted the experience like to be amazing for myself. And seeing it live in person was so much better than seeing it on video. So that experience itself was high praise. It also felt like you were in New York City finding the Syndicate alongside Spider-Man, which for someone who lives in New York, being in Orlando, feeling like you're in New York was crazy. Um, and it wouldn't be a Spider-Man Marvel experience without having a cameo from the Legend of Stealth Stamp. Rest in peace. I loved every minute of this. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite superhero in Marvel. So that truly gained my love for this ride. But I would have rode this time ride like maybe like 100. I loved it so much. Like the motion sickness, guys. Also, by the way, if you have motion sickness, be prepared for the feeling a little dizzy at the end. I do highly recommend just be careful. But I loved every minute of this ride. It was such a great experience, and like I said, I could do this ride 100,000 times. This was by far my favorite ride in all of Universal Studios. I loved every minute of Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. Mainly because it felt different from all the other rides I got to go on. Because in this ride, it launches you in 50 miles per hour and has a 17-foot drop that I did not expect. So I had the second time riding it was keistering because I was waiting for it. And it's such an amazing ride. It's amazing animatronics. It has an amazing queue, the ride vehicle, the theming. The ride, it's everything about this ride is a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect ride. I didn't expect it to be my favorite ride in all of Universal, but it was so great. It was so amazing. Like I loved every minute of it. I don't know, man. It's just there's something about it that just it won my heart over. It's only number two, so you might be surprised what number one is, and it's kind of cheating, but I don't care. But It felt also really good to hear Robbie Coltrane, who voiced Hagrid, play the role one more time, as it was his last project he worked on before his unfortunate death in 2022, and it left me a little bit emotional. But once again, if you get to go to Harry Potter World and you get to be a part of both Hogsmeade and the Diagon Alley, you should definitely check both out because this ride itself, oh my god, it's amazing. And it's crazy to think I got to see this in person. The ride went down, and once the ride went up, everyone was on their phone waiting. Once the ride went up and they saw it on the app, they fucking ran to the ride like fucking Daniel Radcliffe was about to be on it. Like, holy shit. It had 120-minute wait time, excuse me. And oh my god, that's how popular this ride is. It's such an amazing ride. It's beyond one of the best rides in the park. I loved every minute of it. Go ride this ride when you have the chance to, and when you experience Universal for yourself, because it's amazing. It's beautiful.
For years I've seen you shaking in fear, yet begging for more. You crackety worship those who stood here before me. Doctors, directors, even clowns. So what is fear? Horror? Our policies can unhinge your soul and prepare you for something more. Power, immortality, that is what I'm offering. Enter now, as this horror night begins!
Halloween Horror Nights was my favorite thing I did in the entire time I was in Universal Studios. It's actually crazy to say that because it is kind of cheating, but also it was my favorite thing I did in the entire trip when I went to Florida from Disney and Universal. This was the one thing we both, me and my sibling both wanted to do. And it's crazy to also think, they're not a horror fan. I love horror. I've loved horror for many years. I've watched countless videos for many years on YouTube of Halloween Horror Nights, from Hollywood and Orlando to scare zones, haunted house, terror trams. I wanted to do Halloween Horror Nights more than anything in this world. I was supposed to do it in 2020, and the pandemic happened, so the event was canceled. I was going to do it in 2021, but the funds weren't there. But finally be able to do it in 2023. To do it was just something that needed to be done, and it was amazing. It was breathtaking. It left me emotional. And I had tears in my eyes going through the crowds, and I didn't get to do it in the front gate like you saw earlier on. No, no, I got the hookup, so I was already in said park and made sure I was in the park when it finally happened. To do it in October is also something you have to do, by the way. Don't do it in September. If you're going to do Halloween Horror Nights, do it in October because that's the month of Halloween. All right? For me, that was the perfect time to do it. But to be able to do all of this, be a part of scare zones, go to the nighttime show, Nightmare Fuel, Revenge Dream, to go through most of the haunted houses because I wasn't gonna go for all of them because there was so much to do. It was breathtaking. It was amazing, and to do it with my sibling was just like I said. They didn't like horror, but hell, I made him a fan now. I hope. They want to do it again this year. I hope to do it again this year. It's something I want to do again this year. I want to make this a yearly event. Like it took 10 years, and to make these moments happen, to make a moment like this happen, it's just something I'll never be able to do again. It was just the first time will always be a big part of my life. You know, there was a bucket list to go here and to check it off. I did it. It's a dream come true. You know, Halloween Horror Nights has been around for 30 plus years, and it's gonna continue to be around. You know, I love the detail work Universal put into every year, including this year. You know, Doctor Oddfellow was amazing. Chucky was amazing. Stranger Things house was amazing. I loved the Universal Monster House. The scare zones of the vamps to shipwreck, shipyard, whatever it's called. Oddfellows, little scare zone. Every beat, piece, and part of this event was beautiful, and it was amazing. I will never forget it ever, and I hope so I can attend it this year. I want to make it a yearly event as much as I can. Hopefully I have the funds this time around, but I loved every minute of it. I can't wait to do this again. If you ever get the chance to do Halloween Horror Nights, I highly recommend doing it. Even if you're scared of haunted houses, do it, because in the end of the day, it is well worth every fucking second of your life. I know it was for me. Can't wait to do it again.